we are all looking at the market in a way that we are going to have a bull run today. We are all waiting for that. But understand, we are getting good news. I agree. But what you have to look at is the narrative which is highlighted, so that the mass actually look at this and say, okay, this is going to happen. So right now you see like 87 billion Italian bank to add Bitcoin trading. So it doesn't mean the entire fund is actually going there, but it's just highlighting, it will enable over 300,000 customers to buy and sell Bitcoin. So it's early this year in a native integration with Conio. Now understand, it's early this year. We have seen this before. It can be Feb, it can be March. We don't know. It won't be in Jan. We can say that, right? But we don't know. But at the moment, you need to understand is when you are getting positive news from around the globe, you need to actually ask what is the narrative, because the big media, what they are actually highlighting to the normal people is like the Bitcoin, the Ether and that stuff. And then you come to the most developed cryptos and other stuff to look at the real utility. Now I know we are not there as XRP guys. XRP ledger is not there. Why? Because of the SEC, majority of the developers are not coming in. But right now, if you look at that, it's changing. In last 6 months, you have seen a ton of new developers moving on with their new projects, because they understand Ether platform is not sustainable for them. But XRP ledger is not only the ledger which can move. When people move out of Ether, it's not the only option. So they are going to look at all variety of options here. And you see Cardano, you see KSM, DOT and others thriving. So when you actually see people giving you this narrative, you need to actually look at the practical reality, right? So that's why when you look at this, it's kind of giving you something, okay, that's something I need to think about, right? If you see this happening again and again in the history, there is a possibility that this is going to happen again, right? We are going to focus on that. So when you look at the Ether, okay, it somewhat gives you that idea that Ether to BTC can have a fluctuation. Now for this, you don't need Ether to do 5x. You need Ether to do 2x when BTC is slowly correcting to the downside. So you do have that option. Then you look at, say, Cardano. The indicators are at the bottom, so oversold. Price is at a long-term support, so it can bounce. So all of these ideas are still there. Then you come to XRP BTC, look at what XRP USD is doing. You have to look at the various different aspects of this before you make the final decision or your judgment call of saying, okay, I'm going to do this, right? So because when you look at all of this, you kind of get one narrative so easily. This is the macro trend we know, but we do have possibilities of fluctuation. With the news, say, what if Bitcoin is going down? Everyone is saying Bitcoin is going to $300,000, $500,000 that way. So if that's the narrative given to the mass, then chances are we are going to have a correction there. So if we have a correction there, yes, we do have a possibility where Bitcoin dominance is going to drop, also going to stay steady and then move higher. That is there. But before that, there can be a volatility. And that's what we are trying to address here. So let's actually dig in deep and discuss through this. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Guys, when you look at the Twitter, you're going to see a lot of different stuffs, including which, some of these. Now, yes, it's their personal experience, what they are highlighting, but being a contrarian investor or being, that particular guy who always go against what the normal people say, you're like, okay, 15 billionaires was there, giving that perspective. He talked to 15 of them and all of them asked about Bitcoin. Fine, great. But what he adds in there is no one asked about Cardano, Ripple, Hex, Doge or NFTs. Fine. So now when you come back to what we've been looking at here, these are the space where all these interesting projects are being built. Now we are in 2022. We are looking back to 2021, the entire year, and this is what gets priced in. Developers coming in, new projects being built, and that's what really happened in Ether. So right now we are looking at all of this, and XRP is nowhere near. You're seeing way bottom, but give it 6 months, a year from now, and SEC giving the clarity, that's going to shoot a lot more project into it. Okay, that's my speculation, but looking at the reality, the narrative is so easy to understand. At least maybe I'm wrong, but I personally feel like this. All of the herd is being directed towards BTC, towards Ether, that kind of stuff, but majority of the value is going to be built on the others. So you kind of look at XRP in that equation. XRP BTC shows you, now common sense is buy low, sell high. So you look at the chart to XRP BTC, XRP Ether, whatever you want to choose, and you are looking at this, and right now you feel like, okay, we are nowhere close to the mid or top view, we are near to the bottom. So if you're buying low to sell high, which makes sense, this is some of the area where the supply gets drained, if that makes any sense to you. Now you kind of go in and look at the XRP USD, look at the resistance at the top, the bottom supports, all this, and what do you actually see in for the short term? Now no one knows, but what do you think is the possibility there with all this narrative there? I personally think it's going to be a little bit of volatility. It can be, a wick to the downside. The short-term trend can be neutralized and moved to the downside. So the first support would be this bottom of the wick, which kind of coincides with the support here. Then the resistance here, support here. So that's also a long-term support. Now that's on a daily chart, so it's not favorable to call long-term. We can call medium-term support line, because we've been respecting that range from June. So great. Now, if you are breaking this short-term trend like this, your trend validation here was longer compared to this one, so which means the momentum is decreasing to the downside. So you may not actually get a pump towards 0.5. But why am I still showing you that? I'm showing you we have a major support there where we been acting as a resistance, then turned into a support, then we blasted through there. So that means the supply there has been drained. Now that is the only reason why the price actually went up. Then you came back again, you didn't get any supply to the downside, so the market had to go higher to search for new supply. If that makes sense for you. It's not like the entire circulating supply, it's the supply at particular price points, right? If you are selling at 0.1 and 100 guys are there to buy, and you are selling it like one piece at a time, you now have a lot of buyers who are ready to buy as the price goes up, right? Now the opposite when you're selling. So it's about the price and that supply there. Now if you're focusing here, yes, we had the double bottom, meaning the technical trend analysis gives you that idea. Okay, the supply is drained there. The market is moving higher for searching new prices. That means new supply, which is held at higher price level. So now when you're coming back, my point here is we may not actually come to 0.5. The chances are really, really rare you're going to go till there. Now you still may come towards this range and wick close this range. Say 0.65, 0.7, that range. So if you have a short-term trade where you are like, okay, I have my wicks here, so I've kept my stop loss just below this, you may be kicked out. Because in some exchanges, they even push the price super low, they go to 0.6 and go back up instantaneously. So you are out and they still make money. Now, we had scenarios where we have seen these kind of stuff. We go wick lower than this and come back and close there. We go below this, come back and close there. So that still can be a possibility, you going lower and coming back up and closing there. That's a weekly chart. So you still have time to do that. Just keep in mind, when that's happening, you are not being kicked out of the market. Because that usually happens. So for example, you buy into an asset, you stay there for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, the price is not doing anything and you are like, okay, I'm moving out. You move out and in 2 months it's skyrocketing. That's hard to watch, right? It was just additional 2 months of patience in that particular scenario. Now, here, that's something similar coming in, meaning this is BTC dominance, right? We all know that we are going to see a move in altcoin as this moves. Now, we've been talking about this for some time because the price is consolidating and we are watching the market. So as you watch the market, we entered it here and you're consolidating still here. That's like 250 days of consolidation, which is hard for normal human being to digest unless you are an investor. Because as you become investor, you kind of keep your emotions outside this. That's the only way you're going to succeed. So now, what are you looking at? You're zooming in to see what has been the previous range. So this 41 was a previous support. Then the week low was 39.9. Now the next bottom here is 39. So you're almost coming down towards that. You went to the moving average. That was drained. You came back. So now if you are moving below this one, that actually gives you an open range to move all the way down to this bottom first. So the first level would be like 37, then 36, then 32, and then boom, you don't know, but it's gonna go lower. Now, why do I say that? Because often people don't actually get this point. You kind of go zoom out into this and you look at it from the infinity, and you're really looking at this stuff and saying, okay, fine, Bitcoin has been moving down for a long time. So when you sit there and look at the dominance, you're understanding, yes, the dominance is going down all the way from that 2013 mark. So you don't actually expect it to go above this, right? Great, that's the trend. So trend is your friend. You're understanding that. And you stick close to the median here, the moving averages, and then drop sky high. That's when the altcoins are running high. Great. So you have like 1, 2, and 3, and then you slowly go back up. Now, you are looking for that. You dropped once, you're going to drop the next leg, which is going to be the wave 2 in altcoins. That's what we are all waiting for. Now, for your confirmation, you can look at the MACD, which is showing you we are going to the downside. There is no doubt in that, at least for me. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but the way I look at the charts, I'm like, okay, fine. The indicators are suggesting you that all the way from 2019, you are having this trend where you are trending to the downside. And if you are moving lower, you still have a long way to go. Now, that may break a lot of portfolios if you are not well balanced, or if you don't have dry powder, if you don't see opportunities in the market. Because if you are going further into micro caps, it's okay if it's 5%, 10% of your portfolio. But if you are going further in and you are like, micro caps and you're 50% in and there is no liquidity in it and it's getting wiped out, you lose your money. Right? So you look at the liquidity first and you make sure what are the coins you're doing well on. Say, for example, you look at the first 100 to 200 coins and you see some of them doing well. Then you go all the way back in and you look at the first 100 coins and you're like, okay, which of them are doing great? You're like, say, Phantom, Hex, Cosmos, you have these names there, Algo, One, Curve, all of them are still there when the market is slowing down. They're doing fine. They're doing great, in fact. So this idea is actually shared. Say we were following these coins and now I personally entered some of these and informed my members as soon as possible, saying I'm entering into these with this percentage of my portfolio, looking for these as targets. So that makes sense for you to understand, okay, where to buy, where to sell, because that is the most important stuff you need to know. But don't go 50% into it. Like, anything below 10% in these small coins makes actual sense. But, when you are looking at the total market and you are a risk averse person inside crypto, because that itself is a risky market, you can have room looking at the first 50 coins, looking at the fundamental projects in first 50, and you're heavy on them. That's fine. Because they have liquidity, you're going to take profits at the right time. So guys, always understand the macro narrative is going to be set in a way that retailers are distracted. So we don't want to be one of them. Rather, we want to look at the market and see what's happening. So here, you see when the Bitcoins are moving out from the market, meaning from the exchange all the way to the wallet, in the ledger or some way safe, it's actually like, okay, I'm not going to touch these, let it be there. And it's grinding hard. You can see the price going all the way up. But whenever you see Bitcoins from that wallets going back into the exchanges, you see the price slowing down, people selling it. So the selling volume, when we say selling going to happen in Bitcoin, that volume can shift all the way into altcoins, and that's what we want, right? And that's what we are highlighting here with the Bitcoin dominance, right? We are going to drop, and that particular drop is going to increase price in altcoins. And if you are positioned well in this market, that's going to give you a lot of details, and that's why we discuss that regularly in detail in the Patreon, right? Even we were actually discussing about this particular stuff today, right? So you get to look at a lot of different stuffs in the Patreon. If you want to join, that's the entire month, a year it's ahead, and you're going to see different assets doing different stuffs. But the main benefit for you is to get a view of all of these assets. What are they going to do? And if you want to take up a trade, you now know your targets, you now know where you're going, you now know the trend, you now know what's expected, right? Those kind of steps are there. So if you want to join, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, the main stuff is don't fall for the narrative and the volatility, because it may actually kick your emotions, but don't jump for it. Go into it and understand, yes, even though you're going to see this, ultimately your trend is to the upside. There is no doubt. You're going to go below this for a short time, but you come back and close there and then slowly grind higher. So if you are that particular guy who sold here or here, you lost with time, right? You reached here, you lost with time, you reached here. So that was like a 10-15x. That's patience and sitting through the volatility. You should have the appetite for that volatility, otherwise you are not looking to the upside. See, what's the downside from here? 0.8 to 0.5, even if we call that, it's not even a 50% drop for you, right? And what are the upside you are looking at? $8, $10, $20. That's massive, right? 50% to the downside and a symmetrical upside. That's what we all want. Rather, if you are going to Bitcoin, nearing the all-time highs, 3 times that. So chances are high that you can actually drop pretty hard, right? You don't know, no one knows. So 100% downside, that's it, you're wiped out. So for what? 100% to the upside? So that's something you need to think about. So guys, when you see the macro news, always think for your portfolio. So I definitely believe you received value for your time, and if you did, please do support the channel. Hit that like button and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.